Hello, everyone, and welcome back to We Bought a Mic, a pop culture podcast, pop culture dark and moody cast here in the studio, celebrating the best TV shows of 2022. My name's Ernest.
Oh, shit. I know. It's podcasting with Super Cop. My name is Hunter.
God damn!
I did say that I wasn't going to yell this entire podcast, and I broke it like within seconds. But
yeah, blowing out the mic, having to make adjustments on the fly. And Drew is also here. He is taking a little nippy nap on the side. He has a migraine. That's why we're dark. You know,
he's 21 Pilots. I've got a migraine.
I've got a migraine.
And migraine of sideways.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, there he is.
Coming in hot. Coming in hot.
Testing.
Drew is committed to the art of podcasting, to the art of lists.
I'm shoving an ice pack through my eyeball right now.
Drew doesn't want to tell you this. He's actually watching every TV show that was released this past year at the same time, at 1.25 speed in order to catch up on everything.
All on my phone.
Yeah. with Temple Run on the side and Family Guy clips.
The way that Marty and
that post is incredible. Quagmire's epic clapback to Brian.
Every time I see it, it's like different. He like adds another piece to it. I think it's the same TikTok.
I think, yeah.
Zoomer brains are so much more powerful than we'll ever be.
They're gonna solve all the
things they're able to process as long as it's a lot of things.
That's why Drew has a migraine right now, because he can't comprehend the genius of Gen Z TikTok content creation. It's blowing our minds apart. Here we are talking about television. They're beyond any type of television.
So that's why we're pivoting. And this year we're doing our top 10 TikTok channels.
Number 1, Matt Walsh. Ben Shapiro highlights.
Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. Number 3, January 6th insurrection 3-minute clips. Oh my God.
With Temple Run.
With Temple Run playing. It's Better Call Saul, but it's Stewie doing all the voices.
While on the tempo, like the jokes land like as they're crushing the glass of the Capitol.
What the deuce, Walter?
All right. Welcome to the show. We're doing the top 10 TV shows of 2022. Deep in Listomania. We did albums with Danny last week, and we really appreciate Drew's commitment. We love him, and this is
Lamar Jackson. Take notes.
This is why we're in dark mode right now, because
take notes.
Oh my God.
DeMar Hamlin. No.
This is exactly the same. This is exactly the same situation. Right?
And I'm right here.
I'm gonna have to resuscitate Drew in the middle of this podcast.
No, I have a DNR tattoo. Anyway, if I think I'm just gonna sit out the first couple for the most part here. So if I hear some, I'm sure I'm gonna hear a thing or two that I need skipped.
I can't wait for us to blow past the first 3 in like a 2.5 minutes, and then just gonna have you jump in here. But before we even get to the list, Ernie, you watch the most TV out of all of us.
Absolutely shameful amount.
Yeah. No, you are the biggest TV boy out of us. I can proudly say that you watch more TV than just about anybody that I personally know. So
except maybe Dane. Dane might be the one friend of the pod, donor of the pod.
Dane is Dane's the type of guy who like watches a show and is like, this sucks. I'm gonna keep watching the season though.
Right. I had to embrace giving up on certain things this year.
Not the old man, I hope.
I kind of did. I mean, I think I just slept through the last couple eps of that.
Isn't that like what it's meant? It's what it's created for.
Definitely.
Be a nap show.
I mean, there's some shows where I did this last year too, where I watch them in the background. Like if I know I'm not fully committed to the story, I'm just like, you know what? Instead of just fully giving up on this, I'll just like not look at it half the time. It'll just be on and I'll get the gist of it without having to have like my full attention on this. A lot of the Disney Plus slop falls into that bucket.
Yeah.
Your Book of Boba Fett's, your Moon Knights, that kind of thing.
That's fair. I mean, that's just kind of the thing of TV is that there is so much that is like, or I should say, it feels like there's so few appointment viewing television shows.
Right.
That so much of it is just shit that you can just throw on in the background and it kind of is the same. I'd say even something that's like more of a bigger hit and a show that I like, but even something like Stranger Things kind of falls into that category where it's like, this is pretty good. Oh man, this episode's 97 minutes, huh? Well, I have other shit to do, so
I'll just leave it on.
I'm just gonna leave it on. I'm gonna watch it, but I'm also gonna fold laundry while
exactly.
I'm doing it. I have folding laundry shows. None of them made my top 10, but I will say I don't know if you felt this way, but I think, especially looking at my list here, it's a pretty deep year. But I think that my top 3, I think, are like 3 absolute pieces of like 10 out of 10 perfection, which is something that I can almost never say for television. Right. That like my top 3, I feel like either one of these could be number 1 in any year of the last like 4 or 5 years.
I'll say that for probably my top 5. And I feel like 3 of those 5 are your 3.
We're going to have a little bit. There's going to be a little bit overlap because I think that the best of the best shows are kind of clear. And I think that there's a deep bench in that there's so many shows, whether it is like something like Andor or Pachinko, which is a show that I haven't had a chance to get around to. That are like
that's like
so many, that's my biggest.
That's the Underground Railroad of this year.
Yeah, it's like the best show that I know I will love if I just give it the time that it deserves. Kokonada slowly becoming like one of my guys. But yeah, no, I just there's a lot of stuff that came out this year where it was like, oh, this is a thing. This is a big thing that's happening right now.
I enjoyed this year in TV a lot. You're totally right about it being really top heavy, which I think is very similar to movies this year, which we'll get to next week, where you have your kind of a very defined top tier, almost like undisputable. And then, you know, everything else just like kind of falls into that second tier. But even looking at like my 11 through 20, I still love all these shows. And I kind of struggled picking like the 11 through 15. It was like, oh, these could have easily made the list, but you know, you just have to pick 10.
Right.
And then I just watched so many shows that even beyond the top 20, like there's still a lot that I liked that just falls outside of that. And then you start to get into the slop after that. And then things that just straight up I hated, all the way down to Westworld, which was my least favorite show of the year.
Man,
congratulations.
Westworld isn't going to make the top 10?
Unfortunately not. Man. Unfortunately not.
Remember that like 3-week stretch when you're like, guys, Westworld's good
it's
again.
Back.
Get back in here. And then just like the sad Sunday night message that you sent where you're like, yeah, Westworld sucks.
Yeah, it might actually be the worst.
Westworld's actually worse than we all thought. And HBO's like, we agree, we're canceling the final season that we already dumped $100 million into.
And we're actually removing it from HBO Max. You cannot watch that show on HBO Max right now.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That it bombed that bad. And honestly, the Abrams family deserves it.
R.I.P. And then, yeah, like I said earlier, that I can't get to everything. Like there's things that I didn't get to. I'm still trying to figure out why and how Fleischman is in trouble. I still don't know.
All that I know is that he's in trouble.
Yeah.
And I couldn't really tell you much of anything else. Right. I do know that he is in trouble.
Okay. So how about we get to our top 10s of the year? We're going to do this 10 through 1. Hopefully we don't have to split it into 2 episodes. We don't have Danny here to add to the chaos.
There's less malt liquor involved this week than there was last week, so hopefully we can keep
Drew has a
concise.
migraine, and have his list is just seasons of Shark Tank.
I think maybe I'm still hungover from the malt liquor.
Maybe that's the problem. That Ernie is just cracked one open over here. So we'll see.
Are you saying I'm allowed to list seasons of Shark Tank on my list?
You can list both seasons of Survivor independently of each other. So,
well, that changes things. I'm not gonna. We'll be right back.
So, if you have not tuned into a Listomania before, the way we do this is if there's overlap, wait until the person that has it the highest brings it up. So I am confident that there will be overlap with some of these. So we'll have to save that discussion for the person that has it the highest on the list. Last time I went first. So how about you start us off, Hunter, with your number 10?
My number 10, we might have to wait on. And a motherfucking brick. It's We Own the City.
Nice. Drew, do you have this?
Okay. So we'll wait on this one.
This was one of the ones that was fighting for that spot, and I ended up having to cut it.
I have a lot of thoughts on this and why it's at 10 and not necessarily higher on my list, but I will save those for whenever we get to it.
Okay. My number 10 is a little show called Irma Vep.
Hell yeah. I'm so glad that you have been piloting the Irma Vep train. I have to ask you, have you watched the movie Irma Vep?
No, I still haven't. I will though, because I love this show. It's one of those shows that like it feels like it could only exist in this peak TV streaming era that we're in, where the creator Olivier Assayas is sort of doing a reevaluation, reexamination, retelling of his 1996 or 7 film, I believe, Irma Vep, and it's insanely meta. It's a show about a show being made about the movie Irma Vep. So it's about the actors that are making the show. It stars Alicia Vikander and a bunch of like talent that I don't know that are now my favorite people, particularly Vincent Maxion. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, who appeared in White Noise at the end, the weird guy in the motel.
Oh, that guy. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, guy.
And this show is just one of those things where it's just like, it's insanely niche. It could only exist in this era. It would have never been made in any other time, only because like this is the time when studios are just pouring money into, wild and crazy ideas from auteur filmmakers.
So I have to ask, and one, put some respect on Tom Sturridge of Pirate Radio fame, who's also in this show. I don't know what his character's name is.
I just mixed up these fucking European guys. So the guy that's in White Noise is Lars Edinger. And Vincent Maxion is the guy who plays the Olivier Assayas surrogate, the director.
So is this like Kaufman-esque, or like what exactly are they kind of going for here?
No, because this, like, Kaufman likes to get very surreal. And this show has touches of surrealism, but they're very, very sparse. It's only, you might get one scene per episode that gets weird. The weirdness comes from how it incorporates the meta angle when it chooses to cut to the camera that's filming the show within the show. And then there's moments where it cuts to the original movie that it was based on. This is almost like a Russian doll of stories, because not only is there a 1996 movie, there's also a 1915 movie called Le Vampire. And there's clips from that film also interspliced throughout the story. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. And I love it so much. It has really great humor that's very niche, very, kind of industry type humor where, you will only get it if you're tapped into the making of shows and films like we are. And it's great. It's great. Alicia Vikander is absolutely amazing in the role. She just has this really ethereal royal quality to her performance. And it's just one that I had no idea it existed until I saw it pop up on the menu of HBO Max, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever, I'll give this a shot. It aired on like Monday nights, which is like not the usual HBO night.
It's kind of like where HBO throws their shit like that they don't really care about.
So I was like, all right, whatever, I'll try it. And then every Monday night I found myself so excited to watch a new episode of Irma Vep. I was really taken with it. I really blown away. Love it so much. My number 10.
This is on my list. I have a long list of shows that like I just like know I need to watch. The problem with the show is I kept being like, oh, I'm about to fire up an episode. I'm like, I should probably watch the movie first though. And then I just never got around to watching the movie and then never got around to watching the show.
Yeah. So, really funny, really unique. Yeah. All right, Drew, you want to tell us your number 10 so that we know if we have to wait?
No.
Okay. My number 9, we might have to wait on again. It's The After Party.
That is my number 9 as well.
Wow. We are going to have to wait just a little bit for that.
Okay. Wow.
I'm surprised. It made both your lists. I'm really happy.
It almost didn't, but I had to. It's a really special
show.
show.
You hear that? It almost fucking didn't. Okay.
Yeah. Good
Lord
point.
Miller.
Watch out.
Mostly Miller.
Yeah. Mills.
Right. We're up to number 8.
My number 8 is, and I was not expecting for all of us to skip past that fast. So let me pull up my list here. Oh, my number 8, we're definitely gonna have to wait on. It's White Lotus.
It did not make my list, unfortunately. But Drew, is it on yours?
Man, you've been watching some like high access like FYC shit that doesn't even exist yet for that to not make your list.
Man, just completely out on White Lotus. Just don't want to be a part of our guy Mike White's world, is what you're saying.
The White Lotus. I'm guessing it is on your list, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Ernie, what's your number 8?
My number 8 is a show that you had on your list last year that I left out, and I felt bad, and I'm making good on it now. It's Reservation Dogs.
Yeah, you're gonna have to save that one.
Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna have to save that one.
We're getting so much overlap.
I told you that there's just a good consistent group of shows, and oh my god, coming out.
Drew is back off the bench.
Oh my god! Oh, he's coming in here,
and I brought my.
It's like Tua coming in after his 3rd concussion. Oh no!
I brought my ice ring.
Should we allow this to happen?
I'm like seizing up, like dropping my mic.
Should Goodell step in here to stop this?
We need a medic on the sidelines, ready to go.
We do have a licensed spotter watching the pod from basically like from the nosebleeds.
They're gonna radio in and be like, "You guys have to stop it."
Drew's so stupid right now.
He had Bon Appetit in his top 5.
Well, if you want, at this point, we can talk about the season of Survivor a little bit.
Both or one in particular?
Well, let's focus on the more recent one, season 43, just because we haven't talked about it.
Spoiler alert.
Gabler.
Alligator.
I got it wrong too.
It's Gabler. It's Gabe's, man.
So yeah, there's certain shows that we're just going to have to get spoilery with. This is one of those.
Yes, you say immediately after saying the name of the champion, like the first word.
Yeah, I guess that's it. I guess we got to get the spoiler. It's too late.
I can cut it out. No, I have full control.
Also, I mean, hey, you also got it like way wrong. So maybe
I'll bleep it.
That just can't be your ending. Survivor has a really, really critical fundamental problem, and it's broken the game, and it's made it so that no season has been satisfying since season 40.
Which is crazy because they just try to do a reset with 41, and now it feels like they need another reset
because their reset didn't fundamentally change anything aside from style. It didn't change the substance. It didn't change the way the game works.
So before we get into that, because I do have lots of thoughts, and I have one clear-cut fix that I think fixes Survivor completely and reinvents the show. But before we talk about that, we should talk about
to do with an hourglass.
Yeah, I think that we should change the game forever.
I think they tried.
Shit, did they do that already? Fuck. No, before we actually get into how the show can be fixed, we should probably talk about this season as a whole, because I think that season 43 is the best season since they brought the show back.
It's the best of the three, I would say.
Yeah, it's got the best cast. It has the best post-merge tribe of newbies that I can remember in recent memory. Probably Cagayan. Even Cagayan had a lot of weak links.
You need to watch. I'm telling you both. You need to watch season 37. It's the season with Mike White on it.
Oh yeah.
And it is an elite Survivor season. It's easily the best in the last 5 years. Like I just Winners at War is you can't compare it to regular. So I'm not including that. Mm-hmm. But great season. It proves that you can still do good Survivor, in the modern era. But they're not. The problem is that players are so good that anyone who's perceivable as a threat is voted out with a good amount of time left in the show. So in a show where ostensibly it's supposed to be a skill-based game, the most skilled player almost never wins.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to hear your take on how to fix that, because it was really frustrating watching this season, knowing that my favorite player, my pick to win, who should have won had he been around for the final three, knowing that he wouldn't make it there because he was my pick from the jump.
That was some straight up bullshit.
Well, my pick was similar to that from the beginning. Was Carla. I was all in on the Carla hype.
She went off the rails.
But
yeah, she burnt out.
No, and the thing is with Carla is something that you don't see as much anymore is that she was doing incredible, and then she just totally blew up her own game.
She started talking.
It's a thing that it
way
happens.
Too much.
And this is Survivor used to focus more on this, and they've kind of moved away from it as they have provided them more resources and stuff like that. But you are so hungry all the time and so sleep deprived all the time that you start to kind of lose your fucking mind while you're out there. And the paranoia, it's one thing, people are already paranoid because you're playing for $1 million and you can be voted out and be backstabbed at any point. But especially if you are sleep deprived and food deprived, that just elevates to the nth degree. So my fix to this is, I think, and this is a multi-million dollar. So Mr. Paramount, come closer.
Probst runs Paramount.
Mr. CBS All Access. Can I call you that?
Paramount Plus.
Why is there not, for the last 6 episodes, why is there not a Paramount Plus show that just focuses on Ponderosa? Because here's the thing.
That's such a good idea.
Here's the thing is that we like to pretend like they just they get voted out and then they just make an independent decision all on their own based on only the clips they see at Tribal. That's not how that works. Whenever they get voted out, everybody who is on the jury gets to go home or gets to go to this set of islands called Ponderosa, this basically resort where they get to eat whatever they want, sleep, and they all talk with each other.
And they can say whatever the hell they want.
They lobby for their people when they're there. And more than lobbying, they put down other people when they're there. They talk mad shit, which is why in the finale, Cassidy was probably the most deserving out of the 3 to win who made it to final
Carla
tribal.
Ruined her game.
But yeah, no, exactly. And do you know how much fun that would have been to just see people just destroy the other person on the other thing? This could be a Paramount Plus show. It could be completely independent. It costs Paramount Plus fucking nothing. They already have the camera crew out there. Just get your B crew to basically just go there and do the whole confessions, do 30 minutes, 40 minutes on this.
And they have multiple times before they've done DVD extras at Ponderosa, or there was a little mini series that aired on the Fuse network during Cagayan, which is a great season to see Ponderosa. Mm-hmm. That unfortunately it's just not a ton. You can find it. You can find a lot of clips of it on YouTube, and it's really interesting, but that would be a hard choice for them, what you're describing, Hunter, because I agree there should be a Ponderosa, more of like an involvement with that. But do they want to ruin the illusion that the politics end when you're eliminated?
I just think we're so far past that.
Yeah, Survivor has been going on for so long that's not an illusion. I'll also add that this season in particular, I don't think it felt like this in the last couple years. The editing is very odd, and they like try to obscure very important information to try to pull like a twist every episode.
So I hate that. Because I think that one of the joys of Survivor is information that the characters don't know. Yeah. So I hate the flashbacks that they do when they reveal a piece of information as something else is happening.
Sometimes
like as
they'll save the flashback for like the next episode.
That sucks.
That's not acceptable.
And like people will get voted out, and you'll be like, "Well, that is completely detached from the last scene before Tribal."
Yeah. No, I 100%.
So
I think it's almost them preparing too much for it to become a bingeable streaming show, where like the episode because that's a tactic used by a ton of newer shows. One show I watched this year that I didn't want to talk about was The Mole on Netflix, which is
this looked like a fake show. This was real.
I don't know. I watched the whole thing. I don't know. I don't know.
Is it Netflix slop?
I think it may be.
Yes.
Oh, it's so sloppy.
It's stinky slop.
Well, yeah. Talk about the premise, because the premise is interesting.
It's also, this is a revamp of an early 2000s show that was hosted by Anderson Cooper.
Yeah, the Coopster.
And this new iteration is hosted by a different MSNBC anchor. I think her name is Alex something, and she's really great. The show is overproduced to absolute shit. It took place during COVID. It seems really stilted and awkward. I don't know. I think maybe look out for an article by me on the We Bought a Mic website, because this is a fundamentally flawed show. And I think I need to look into the older seasons to see if they had the way this show is constructed is just it's a nightmare.
We need a segment called "Is It Slop?" Like, is it cake?
It's slop.
Is it slop?
It's everyone on it is annoying. It's way overcooked. Like the quality is too high almost.
Yeah, it almost looked like it was almost like a Tyler Perry show or something. Like one of the things he produces.
Well, because the problem is like all of the challenges are incredibly thought out and like high budget, high stakes. And so the amount of money that they're competing for becomes very underwhelming because of that. It's pretty commonplace for your run of the mill, like high budget new game show to go for $1 million prize, period. Like that happened. That was like the fucking Cube. I'm pretty sure had that shit,
Mm-hmm.
And they're fighting over someone is actively sabotaging them, and they're fighting for like a few $1,000 at a time, basically over the course of the show, while doing challenges that definitely cost like $100,000 to set up.
Oh, this is a 17-day show, and at most the winner gets $100,000.
Yeah, it's the most frustrating show I have ever seen in my life, because I wanted it to be good so bad.
Yeah, well, it's like Among Us, right? Among Us.
One person. It's a group of people all doing these challenges to gain money. One person among them is a mole. That sounds awesome. That's why that's why I watched it. There are people deep in like the gaming taking game shows very seriously community that like really like this show.
De Mole. Is the Belgian show. De Mole.
It's so flawed though. The problem is whoever the mole is doesn't have true incentive to sabotage the show, other than the fact that like that's their job. It's not like the mole gets whatever they sabotage, which would make so much sense. The mole is just basically an employee of the show.
Yeah, it's the producers like prodding them.
It's one of the contestants, and they just like operate as staff almost, like to fuck everything up. Problem is that's not enough incentive for me to like be interested in what the mole's doing. Like it ended up being, I don't know. It's just really frustrating. The way the game works also means that it doesn't matter if everyone thinks you're the mole. It's actually almost good if everyone thinks you're the mole. So there is no incentive for anyone to not act sus the entire season. There's no
Wait, so you don't That doesn't make any sense. Why would that not? Why would you want everybody to act suspicious in a way?
It's just there's no reason for them not to, because if everyone thinks that you're the mole, then guess what? You have a leg up on them because you know you're not. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like the way that everyone's voted out every week is you have to answer a series of questions about who you think the mole might be. These questions are very like personal questions, like what is their sign, like shit like that, stuff that we don't know. As an audience, we don't get any of this interaction where they're learning about each other at all. So like the entire basis of how they're eliminated is a series of questions that we cannot answer. Like it is so stupid. I don't know how to fix it, but I'm going to figure it out.
Well, that's Drew's number 9.
That's my number 1.
Is the mole.
Did you? I don't think you said your number 9. So I'm just going to put the mole.
Yeah, I didn't. I hardly even everything like under 7 for me was things were unserious shows.
Okay,
my top 7 I really want to talk about.
I do want to say just real quick one last thing for Survivor. I actually like Gabler. I'll be on Gabler.
I think Gabler is an awesome Survivor contestant.
I think that Gabler is like actually like low key at a great social game, especially for an older guy. That cannot be underrated.
Is he the oldest winner?
He's the second oldest winner. Okay. And the first oldest winner was in like season 5 or something like that. So he's the oldest winner in like, I don't know, like 10, 15 years. Like Survivor is a young show, and so much of it is about making connections, especially with younger people. So normally a lot of older contestants, 40 and up, are either kicked out immediately because they don't vibe with anybody, or they're just straight goats. And Gabler is not a goat.
Well, and but he also is entertaining like a goat. I thought he was a great Survivor contestant because he was fun to watch because he does have a little bit of coach in him, a little bit of like
he does have some
weird older guy who's like taking himself dead serious.
Yeah. He also kind of sounded like Nicolas Cage.
No, no free ads to other podcasts, but there is a podcast that I listened to called The Tribe Has Spoken, or The Pod Has Spoken, excuse me.
Oh, the Tyson.
That Tyson Apostle runs. And Coach was on an episode, and Coach was just like, I really like this Gabler guy. And I was like, yeah, I fucking bet you do. He's just the modern reincarnation of you. So I like that. My biggest problem with the show, and it's similar to what you were saying earlier, Ernie, with them withholding information, the edits, they have gone too far in the other direction of giving people quote unquote hero edits that now they're giving fake hero edits to people.
Carla and Jesse
both just got winner edits. And so the problem with the winner edit is that you get emotionally invested in these people and you spend less time with somebody else. But whenever you spend less time with who ends up becoming the winner, then that's a bad job by the editing team.
Incredibly frustrating watching experience.
It was.
And Lee did not want to watch Survivor. And I kept putting it on, and she got fucking invested. She got sucked into it.
This is what happens with Gaia.
To the point where she got upset with me when I watched an episode without her because I thought she wasn't interested. And she was like, "No, I'm fucking interested. You made me watch it. Now I care." And then we got to the end, and she was so mad. That Gabler won. She was like, "I'm never fucking watching Survivor again."
The real thing they need to fix is, and they've tried, is the logistical issue of when it comes down to 4. That is always when the best person goes. And
do you think that they should get rid of fire? Or do you think they should incorporate fire earlier on the game? I like keeping fire. It's something like carnal about it. And maybe it's just because I know that like if I got on Survivor, I could fucking win when it came to fire.
Should the speaker of the house should have been chosen with fire?
Should they have? Oh my God. We should take this to the GOP. Is it too late? Are they doing like their 37th vote now?
I feel like Jim Jordan would win that.
They would still be here trying to make fire. They would not. Those guys, you think they ever did a Boy Scouts retreat?
Remember when Matt Gaetz proposed that Trump become Speaker of the House?
That's our rep, baby.
Yeah, man, and life is so fucking
and like
stupid.
100 old men 7? Almost beat him up immediately.
That was Maxwell Frost's first day on the job. That was his first day in the House of Representatives.
Well,
that just happened.
Is this a bad time? He's got all this, a box of his stuff. Where's my desk?
Okay. He's like, wait, so we're just gonna do this for like the next like week, or like what is this? What the job is?
Number 7, Hunter.
My number 7, we might have to wait on again. One of these days, I'm gonna get to talk about a TV show on my list. Severance.
It's also my number 7.
Oh, we're waiting though.
Sevener.
I did put it at 7 consciously, so I could go Sevenerance.
So
dude, we have okay. Hunter and I have
Ernie, get the fuck off my list. You watch so much TV.
I know.
Why is your list my list? Get out of here.
These are great fucking shows.
He's basically proving that you're a more effective TV watcher.
I'm all about like hit rate.
Your effective field goal percentage for TV shows. He's Kobe.
I'm like the DeMontis Sabonis.
Yeah, he's Kobe. You're MJ.
Okay, Drew, what's your number 7?
Let's talk about Wayne Jenkins,
the Crab King himself.
What's a man got to do over here? Get a wine cooler.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I was working on.
Happy Wayne Jenkins Day, everybody.
Happy Wayne Jenkins Day, everybody. Hey, you boys ever seen the Roger Rabbit?
God damn!
And the motherfucking brick. I want you guys to know I was working on my Baltimore accent in the car right over here.
Is that what Chris Ryan does in the mirror every day?
Wakes up, looks in the morning, goes, and a motherfucking brick.
You're gonna nail this fucking impression today, CR.
All right. It's low key the best thing that Wayne Jenkins does is whenever he goes, all right.
So it's my favorite thing he does is opens his eyes as wide as they can, like he's like. But John Berthel has the smallest little eyes.
The beadiest little fucking eyes you've ever seen in your life. It's a thing that it's like, it's almost sad that I have it at 10, and this might be like the best television character that we've had in the last 10 years.
Incredible. Like
it's a detriment to the rest of the show that nobody else comes in the same stratosphere as him.
It feels partially by design because I mean most of these other characters are not written as strongly as he is. I mean he's playing a very but there are a lot of like big personalities in this story. This is the real story of the corruption in the Baltimore police department, like around circa the time of the Freddie Gray riots.
These are real people.
Yes,
Wayne Jenkins is a real person, and it's from David Simon and
George
Pelicanos.
Yeah, George Pelicanos.
Who did The Wire and The Deuce, which we love.
And Treme.
This is a little bit of a spiritual successor to The Wire. Yes. And it's, obviously The Wire is set in Baltimore, but those were all fictional people. This is real people, real events. Yeah. And it feels like it's treading a lot of the same themes about, corruption and the failure of systems and the kind of collapse of policing in a city that's been like rotted by racism is a tame way to put it because it's just so much more fucked up than just plain old racism.
It's systemic corruption. Yeah. Just at every single level. The deeper that you go, the more
money, power, politics, like it all just seeps into these people falling into a black hole. And Wayne Jenkins is that black hole. And he's the most charismatic, energetic, all smiles. Like the way this story goes, and it's this anachronistic, like kind of jumping back and forth.
The chronology is absolutely insane in this show.
It's hard to keep up with.
It is hard to follow. Especially they don't always tell you when they are jumping.
They aren't exactly like de-aging John Barenthal.
His hair. You gotta watch his hair.
The worst haircut and facial hair I have ever seen on television.
So the real life Wayne Jenkins had to have that goatee, right? Because that's not a decision.
So ugly.
That's not a decision that like a team makes. Is like, hey, we want to give you like bushy, but like small, but very. It's taking up a lot of space.
Yeah,
it's awful.
It's really wild. So as David Simon is wont to do, this show more than anything, I would say, does a really effective job of breaking down exactly how corruption happens in police systems.
Exactly.
Like it is very, very, very grounded and covers a lot of facts. A lot of episodes, I would say, are 90% hard exposition, 90% like really breaking down what is happening step by step in this legal process. Because we're dealing with like depositions, we're dealing with, police interviews cutting to flashbacks a lot of the time.
It is based on a book of the same name. So it has that feeling to it where you're downloading like just straight walls of text into your brain.
Exactly. And it is 6 episodes. They're each an hour long ish.
Meaty.
Very meaty. I think it handles a lot of the real life stuff in a very respectful way. And I think the show probably suffers because of that. David Simon in general, from my experience with The Wire, it takes a long time to get to the characters in his stuff, to get to really feeling for people. And so you don't feel very much for these characters as much as you see them as chess pieces.
Yeah.
Because this ensemble is fucking humongous. And they're great performances, but it's so huge.
Yeah, I mean the core here is the Gun Trace Task Force, which is Wayne Jenkins and his band of merry men that surround him. And that's kind of like the core of the story. But then, as the plot sort of starts to jump back and forth in time, you get the kind of investigators that are looking into the corruption case itself, and you also get the mayor, and there's a lot of satellites around.
You get like 10 different layers of police officers. Like they really, which I appreciate coming from working in the world of local government. It is weird how many departments there are.
Right.
Yeah.
And how easy it is for these people to fall into the trap. And I think that's the thing this show does the best is not only does it humanize these people, not to the point where you feel sorry for them because they're all terrible people, but it makes you see how it's not out of sheer evil that they do what they do. It's just their inability to pull away from the gravity of it. They get sucked into that black hole,
it's intoxicating. Once you actually do get into it, I mean, and like you said, there's, even with Wayne Jenkins, he is the most charismatic figure, and you can see why people are drawn towards him, but it's also very clear this is a bad person.
Well, he's also terrifying.
Yeah, no, it's he has a magnetism to him, but not that something that you want to necessarily follow in his cult, but
they do kind of.
Well, no, you can see why other people are infatuated and are brought into that lifestyle, especially I'm thinking about it's a scene that's kind of sat with me from earlier on. I think it's episode 1 or it's probably episode 2 where there's the scene of a flashback of Wayne actually getting on the force and buying some lobster, or is it crab legs for
crabs, baby.
Yeah, buying some crabs for everybody. It's just I spent $45 on those things and nobody's eating them.
We're Wayne Jenkins Day.
Money is such a this is back in the day where he's just he has no money, and cops don't make a lot of money is kind of the thing, is that you are still working for any government job. You don't get paid the most. As a former government employee, I can say that. So
kind of scraps, really.
It starts with, we get free OT. We get to just claim OT, all this stuff. Oh, well, we're on this position. We only have to say that we found $5,000. In reality, we found $100,000
in cash.
All right. Just
Pocket.
don't go out buying stupid shit or paying off all your debts right away. It is so easy to get sucked into it. And then once you start to take a little bit, then it's well, we found all this coke. I already know this guy who's working the streets right now. I can just pass that off to him and then just get another few G's right there. And it just
the snowball effect happens so easily,
compounding. And I think that outside of Barenthal, which I mean just is the king and is one of the winners of this year, in my opinion.
Before you move on from him, is this his best role?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think this is the type of instant iconic performance that when somebody just says Wayne Jenkins, I
awesome.
Just know.
Gotta compliment the real guy for his name.
Wayne Jenkins, man.
His parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big Wayne, baby.
It's hard to think of anyone else being able to knock this role out of the park how he does. He was made for this.
I by vibe, I intrinsically understood he could do this, but I'd never seen him really knock something out of the fucking park like this. And
you are glued to the screen.
It's really high level acting. It brings a lot of a lot of dialogue that you get mucked down in. Sometimes it feels a little wooden and technical, and he brings it all to life. Every line he says feels very, very real. He's doing the fuck out of a Baltimore accent,
going for
like just as strong as you could possibly do.
It's so good. I mean, he's always had like supporting performances. You know, you think of Wolf of Wall Street, Walking Dead, obviously, and he pops up.
Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah,
he's Baby Driver can't stop making out with his lady. He's incredible in King Richard last year.
Yeah,
he's like
those booty shorts.
Low key, like I don't know, probably the most entertaining thing about King Richard, if not the best. Like he's awesome in that movie. So that like primed me for the Wayne Jenkins performance.
I'd like to see more of this because he is naturally like there are certain roles he can't quite ever play because he looks like he was born to play like sort of down on their luck like boxers.
Right.
Or like guys who are evil, like his character in The Walking Dead. I feel like he kind of got typecast into stuff like that since that was his first really big role, was like he's the guy in the group who you don't really trust. Like that was always kind of his thing.
Beady little eyes.
Look at those beady little fucking eyes.
He slays though. The show itself is very strong, but I think it suffers from delete a few characters syndrome.
Yes.
Get rid of combine a couple people. I respect that they're trying to respect real life, so I can't complain too hard about that.
The woman, what's the woman? The woman,
Nicole. Steve.
Yeah, is she a lawyer?
She works for the
Civil Rights
Division of Department of Justice.
That's a amalgamation of, that's not a real person. That's an amalgamation
that
of
makes
like
sense.
I think they could have done that a couple more times. For example, the two feds are reporting their findings to like 4 different bosses. Yeah. That is not necessary. Well, we could actually get to know one boss. Yeah. And like because we're not getting a lot of character moments. Most of the like almost every moment
textbook shit.
Yeah, most like they don't have time for that. This is 6 hours and they are going over a very complicated story. But another, I think, very tangible way that the show sort of suffers by being respectful is, for example, the way it handles in the last episode, the death
of that cop.
Yeah. Of,
I got it.
His name is Sean. Because in real life, it is not known whether he was killed or committed suicide. They play
Sean Suter.
They play it very, very ambiguously. Yeah. If you wanted to be less respectful to the dead, what you would do is have like an entire episode where he's contemplating killing himself and like, like pick a side. It would probably be more compelling if he kills himself. But you can't do that. This wasn't like 90 years ago. That's when you can do that. This just happened. Right. So, while I really respect the show, I wanted more Wayne Jenkins's. I wanted more humanism.
But the story's too serious.
It is, yeah, and it's complicated how this shit happens, and they want to break it down. So I respect that.
You're 100% right. That I think that there is just a little bit. It's a little bit too overwritten, and I think a little bit too much wanting to pay homage to the source material, which I can respect. But getting back to the point, I just want an entire show with the Gun Trace Task Force. Like, I just want a full 6 hours with just those guys. Yeah. Not because, like, I like them, I want to hang out with them, but even somebody like Herschel, who's just, like, the worst human being you've ever seen in your entire life.
Yeah, shout out Josh Charles.
Josh Charles, just playing the worst person, a racist, vile piece of shit human being. But he's playing it in such a way that's like, I do kind of just want to spend more time with them of like, oh, we're going back to the 2 straight county cops who are like, hey, oh man, the trackers went missing. Oh man, that's weird.
Man, those guys are boring.
Yeah, dude, why did we spend so much time with those guys?
So it's very clear that the white bearded dude is like someone who could become someone. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like he's very hot.
Yeah, he's a very good-looking guy.
Man, he's giving nothing. And also the show almost entirely abandons him for the last 3 episodes because his character becomes obsolete. It's just it's a head scratcher.
It's odd. Couple people I wanted to shout out. outside of Barenthal, is the two main guys on the Guntrace Task Force who we spend the most amount of time with.
Yes.
Outside of them.
Jamel.
Daniel Britt Gibson.
Yeah, he plays Jamel. Daniel Britt Gibson is awesome.
He's like, honestly, number 2 for me is just favorite guys. And then McKinley Belcher the third, who plays G, I think is, just both of them. I fucking loved it. Every moment that was just the three of them, of the two of them and Wayne together, I was just like, this is dynamite. When they go to the strip club and they find
God.
A stripper.
That is so fucked up.
It's so fucked up, and like I'm cackling, but like not in the way that like it's cackling and like these are the worst human beings I've ever seen in my life, and I can't believe that they're getting away with this.
Yeah, but the other guy, what is it, G Money?
Yeah.
I think they give him like the most sort of pathos in moments like that, where it's like you can see on his face he does not want to be there.
We get a bit of a journey from him. They give us like a half-assed Wayne Jenkins journey, but he becomes bad really quickly.
Yeah, he falls in quick.
G Money though, yeah, and then Sean stays good,
right?
Which is again why it would be really, if they give us a little more emotional moments with him, we could really get payout when he passes. But it's a good show.
I think it does a really good job at kind of covering all the bases. And that's what you get from Simon and Pelicanos. Like all their shows, they give you all the different perspectives. And in this case, when you only have 6 episodes, it becomes a huge detriment to the story and the characters, where it's like all plot, like all like information download. And then you get this like absolute like lightning bolt of a character with Wayne Jenkins to make it a more watchable experience. The reason why like a show like The Wire and even The Deuce works so well is because it's not 6 episodes.
Right.
It stretches over way longer.
It's like the catch-22 of like, I appreciate a show like this. Like I appreciate its brevity, that it's told its full story in just 6 episodes, but also I don't know, like it felt like because they were trying to stuff so much in 6 episodes that you were kind of suffocated in plot at a certain point.
And plot that's happening out of order.
And there is a little bit,
right.
There is a little bit of like, The Wire for Dummies kind of happening in all of this. That's just like,
the Spark Notes.
Yeah, it's exactly like it's
just quicker. The Wire.
It's like we could just. I will say, after watching this, I mean, The Wire's like at the top of my watch list of just things. It's been up there it's been staying up there. That and finishing Sopranos in order to actually like check off the boxes of like TV pantheon shows that are my blind spots.
I've watched like a season and a half of The Wire, because that second season, the docs, man, that is it slows the fuck down. I want to get to the good stuff.
That is exactly where I
left
off, and I know it gets so much better after that.
And I want one day I'll get to it. So that's We Own This City. It's Drew's 7, it's Hunter's 10, and it's my number 12. It's like right there. Like I just had to make.
You aren't allowed to give a number. You just have to say an honorable mention. You have to say that Wayne Jenkins doesn't make your list. One of the best fictional characters ever written in the last 10 years doesn't make your list.
And one of the best real guys.
Hey, you can't fuck with Superman.
Wow. Drew's so mobile right now. He's just walking around the studio.
I can just turn this bitch off.
He had a comment over there and then flipped it back off and then came back.
Amazing.
Man.
I'm about to open this and you're only barely going to hear it through Hunter's mic.
Okay.
Number 6, Hunter.
My number 6 is... I got so caught up that I closed my phone. Oh, it's Reservoir Dogs. Let's talk about it.
Reservation
Dogs.
Not the Quentin Tarantino.
No, you didn't know that got made into a TV show. No, it's Reservation Dogs.
So yeah, like I was saying earlier, I had to make good on this one because I left it off my list last year. This got like my I hope it doesn't tank award, where it just like ends on such a high note that with such promise for season 2 that I was like, all right, you better make good on that. You better make good on it. I left it off. And then now that we're at the end of season 2, it feels like a complete story. Mm-hmm. It feels like seasons 1 and 2 are the full story of these kids in this reservation in Oklahoma trying to get out to find a better life in California and maybe figuring out that Oklahoma ain't so bad. There's a lot of magic there.
I have a lot of thoughts about the very end that we can kind of get to here, but I mean, I think that this season, I think that a lot of season 1 got compared a lot to Atlanta, and I could definitely see that comparison.
Oh, episodic television?
Yeah, episodic television.
Each episode is a story?
Yeah, who can believe, oh my God, each episode is like its own little short film.
Wow.
It's a good thing that Atlanta invented that form of storytelling.
GDT is ripping off Donald Glover.
I love my monsters.
I think that season 2 is honestly a solid. I think I had Reservation Dogs at number 7 last year. I only have it 6 this year, so it sounds like it didn't step up much, but I think that this is like a pretty significant step forward. And I have it so high because I want people to watch the show, and God damn it, I don't want the show to get canceled because I feel like nobody's watching the show. I don't think anybody is fucking watching this show.
FX has a good record of keeping critically acclaimed shows around them.
Yeah,
I
hope so because it is renewed.
It is renewed. Is that newer? Because I did not see
September.
They actually said it was because you put it so high on your list.
Oh my God! Did they
just dropped?
Did he just? Oh my God! Thank you so much, Mr. FX. Can I call you?
Oh wait, no. They just heard your thoughts on Thor: Love and Thunder. They canceled it again.
Oh no. Okay. What if I told you that Angela Bassett, I guess, deserves an Oscar? No, I think that this show, what it's doing with like character development, episode to episode, and just the actors that they find, that they just pull out of literally fucking nowhere, including in some cases like people who weren't acting like 2.5 years ago, and it's like nobody has an excuse for why they can't find good kid actors. Because this show, they'll just have extras. Like I'm thinking specifically of the cheese episode,
Lane Factor with
our
Mark
boy
Maron.
Mark Maron, who owns a home for like lost kids.
Incredible. Just a pissed off like foster guy. He's not even a foster parent. He's just like
he's just owning he's a guy who has a group home.
Yeah.
Just like. Everybody in that episode who's just only in one episode, kids who have like I've never seen in my life before, are just giving like knockout incredible performances. And it's like, if Stellan Harjo can just find these guys out of fucking nowhere, then nobody has an excuse anymore.
The excuse is you have to be a good director to direct kids and non-actors.
Exactly.
Both very hard. I mean, we saw Red Rocket last year. Sean Baker, he pulls motherfuckers from anywhere. Chloe Zhao.
Honestly, there is a little bit of that. Not like plot-wise or anything like that, but of just like, it has that same kind of general vibe of like, it's feeling like every episode feels like it's capturing lightning in a bottle in that same way that Red Rocket does, where it's like, I don't know how they are able to tell these incredibly compelling stories that are bringing in all these different characters. It does have the Atlanta thing where you never know one episode to the next what you're going to get. You don't know, like, you're just going to be like watching one episode and it's dealing with Alora's grandmother's death. And then the next episode is just going to be like, hey, we're going to hang out with the aunties and Bear's
Vegas.
Mom. And just,
or it's not even Vegas.
No, it's just an IHG party, like a
convention,
hospital convention party where just all these like women
and they get too high on edibles.
These midlife crisis women are just out here trying to fuck dudes out here. Like, it rocks.
So good.
You just never know what you're going to get episode to episode and like tonally what you're going to see.
It's so confident. I get that
Mm-hmm.
feeling from it where it's like, season 1, at least the first half of it, it has that season 1 feel where it's like, all right, we're figuring things out. We're kind of figuring out what this show is and how to get to the best version of it. And I think it gets to that. I might have to rewatch season 1 to kind of revisit those first couple episodes, but it didn't click into a higher gear until maybe the halfway mark. And season 2, right out of the gate, it's just like, we know exactly how to calibrate this world.
Mm-hmm.
And this show feels like it's uncovering a new slice of TV that hasn't been touched before. It's like, oh my God, there's a whole world under this rock that nobody had ever looked under, you know, because stories like this, people like this don't get these opportunities in Hollywood. And it's like, you know, we complain and people complain a lot about how, like, you know, there's the same stories being told over and over. And Reservation Dogs feels like a world that hasn't been tapped into, that feels rich and lived in and like full of possibilities for more stories like this. Like, there's a plethora of great stories out there just waiting to be told. And that's the feeling I get from this.
It's so specific slice of life. I'm stealing this take from somebody else, but somebody compared it to a Richard Linklater film.
Sure.
I heard one of the Watch guys mention that, and that is a really apt way to compare it, because it's a Linklater film, but it's not telling the same story that we've seen 100 times of like, oh, you know, here's some like upper middle class white kids who got the chance to like do all these crazy shenanigans on like one fateful night in the summer. Like, this is showing this life that you just don't really see ever. And not to mention that because the directing, or all of the directors that work on this, all the writing staff that works on this are all coming from Native backgrounds. They bring in such a Native spiritualism to the show and interlace things where you're just seeing this very like grounded story, slice of life, kids, shenanigans things. And then you'll just have like some spirits pop up.
Yeah.
Or like, it'll be a thing where you just kind of feel like you're just in this like normal natural world. And then an owl's eyes will be blurred out, because that's just like a whole thing in Native culture, is like not actually looking an owl in the eyes. And like, it's just all these like little details in it that are just so pitch perfect. And it's so well executed. You mentioned the end of the show. I don't want to spoil this season, because I still feel like this is a criminally underwatched show. But
the scene you're thinking of it's special.
It's the end of this season had me like ugly crying.
Yeah,
like it honestly is
a crescendo. It's a climax. It's everything it's leading up to.
It might be like the most emotionally affected by any film or TV that I was by any like singular moment in anything this year.
It's
like
so well
it was
done.
So perfect. And I made the mistake of watching it in public around other people. And so I'm just sitting there like,
oh
fuck,
no,
bro. Fuck, dude. I ain't me. It's
like
so
at a
well
urinal.
done. Yeah. I'm just like watching it on my iPod video.
Oh my God.
In 720p.
I adore this show. I think it's so funny. You know, it has a very specific kind of humor. The episode with the girl from Prey, Amber Midhunt.
Oh my God.
Where she's
decolonization.
Like, yeah, where she plays this like girl from California that's trying to
recognize. That's where I was like, I recognize this girl. I cannot place
She's
it.
like trying to reconnect with like the native part of her family. And it's like, this show is just a masterclass in balancing tone, where it's like, there's this deep like sadness to this whole story of like these people living in like a really tough situation, and kind of their lives are defined by loss and trauma. But it never the story's not really ever about that too much. It's usually like pretty light and funny. And an episode like this, like it manages to extend that balancing act to this character that comes into the reservation to try to like be this like motivational native speaker, but she's like not even from the community. She's from California, but it's like she's doing it because she like genuinely wants to connect to this side of herself that she doesn't have in the city, in the metropolis of like San Francisco or wherever, or LA or wherever. And it doesn't come off as like weird or ugly or disingenuous. There's a warmth to it, but it's still like, it just all played for laughs, and you feel like the kids feel like, who the fuck is this bitch coming here to tell us what it's like to be a native? The
funniest guy in that episode is, I think that I'm trying to figure out the actor's name now, but the guy who plays like her like
assistant
co-partner,
guy,
her assistant is just like,
Oh, yeah, Bobby Lee, Dr. Kang.
Yeah, or no, not Dr. Kang. No, no. The guy's just like, the elders they've called me something of an elder themselves, even though I'm something of a prodigy, they say, because I'm so wise. I'm wise beyond my years, and I can say that because other people have said that about me. It's so fucking funny and good. But then at the same time, there is that emotional, like it's can hit that kind of emotional chord whenever it wants to, more than Atlanta, because Atlanta has a like overarching plot. We're going to talk about Atlanta coming up here shortly, I'm sure, but there is still kind of a steady momentum in Reservation Dogs that isn't there with Atlanta. Reservation Dogs, at least through these first 2 seasons, there's been something at the end of the rainbow. There's been a trajectory, a through line, a dramatic through line that you are working towards more so than there is in a show like Atlanta.
And we'll see what happens with season 3 because it feels like they reached that. And we'll see if they try to set up another one.
Yeah, we'll see. I love this show. Yeah. I wholly love this show. I think that this is like a very, very, very special show, and it's criminally underwatched. And I would recommend the show to everybody. Yeah. Like, I think that there's a lot of shows on here where I'm like, I have to give a bunch of caveats before I tell somebody to invest their time and energy into the show, but I think this is worth it.
Shout out to all the cast. All those kids are amazing. They're all perfect. Yeah. Shout out to Zahn McLaren, the sheriff officer guy. His LSD episode was a standout for me.
Officer Big. Love that guy.
And Bill Burr. You love to see Bill Burr. Anytime that guy pops up, it's love to see banger.
Kirk Fox popping up in there is just this fucking hippie owner, this white dude who's just fully associated himself with the native culture.
Amazing.
Yeah, love it.
Reservation Dogs is Hunter's number 6 and my number 8. So now we're at my number 6, which is Andor. Star Wars Andor.
Save it.
You watched Andor?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Jeez. Guys, Star Wars, the realm of a galaxy far, far away, is back. Andor is not only the best Star Wars thing since Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi, but it might be the best Star Wars thing since like the original trilogy. Just period.
I believe it. I'm not going to lie. I believe it. I believe in Tony Gilroy.
Yep.
Even though he doesn't have the biggest hit rate ever. Like, people talk about him as though he's like one of the titans of cinema. He's not quite that, but he's
Michael Clayton is a banger.
Michael Clayton is a banger.
The Bourne movies,
half of them.
Duplicity.
He's made good shit.
Half of Rogue One.
I mean, more importantly, he's an interesting person to give full control over a Star Wars project because I think. I mean, maybe if Lord and Miller had taken the reins behind a television show with this level of
if Solo would have been,
then maybe things would have gone a little bit more smoothly because that's what they need. They need the reins, bro.
So I did a whole 2-hour pod with friend of the show, Adam, about this television show. So you can go and listen to that. I'll keep my thoughts brief here because we waxed poetic about how amazing this show is in that. But I'll just say, a lot of people have been out on Star Wars and just Disney Plus in general. This is by far and away the best thing that Disney Plus has produced. It is just unfair to everything else. It makes everything else look even more like slop. This is quality shit.
Even like WandaVision?
Even WandaVision, yes.
Even Hawkeye?
You keep waiting for it to be like, okay, but when's Mark Hamill deep fake gonna come in? When's
it gonna get goofy?
Yeah, you keep you keep thinking like, all right, now it's
lightsaber and clap.
Now it's gonna be like when it cuts to like Darth Vader and Obi-Wan, it never does. They don't say the word Jedi I don't think they say it like a single time throughout the entire show.
It's funny because this is almost that really annoying TikTok by that Marvel dude who's like, what if just every movie was in the Marvel universe? This kind of seems like it's like the best version of that possible.
It is. You know why it is like that? Because you'd think that a show about fucking Cassian Andor, like the third most interesting person,
the guy
Rogue
who
One,
dies in Rogue One.
You'd think that would be like an inconsequential show on the margins of the Star Wars galaxy, but they get to do a lot of like big, like lore moves. They let Tony Gilroy like do a lot of shit. There's like big things that happen in the show in the story of Star Wars. Like we see the beginning of the rebellion. This is how the rebellion starts. That's the story that's being told in this season of television. And it's told in a way that feels so real. That feels like, oh my God, this is actually how an oppressive imperial force would push people to start a rebellion. I want to take notes. I'm like, the Disney Corporation is like telling us like something feels weird here. Like that a mega ultra corporation has this like almost like a manifesto up on their fucking streaming service where you could be like, hey, actually, we could take notes here. Like there's specific lines of dialogue in this show that could like activate people to feel invigorated. Do you think
that the people of Brazil just actually watched Andor?
Yeah, and we got to take over. Yeah. It's incredible. The cast, incredible. Stellan Skarsgård, like the moment. There's a moment in this show where Stellan Skarsgård gives a fucking monologue, and it has the same weight of Luke and Darth Vader having a lightsaber fight. Like that's what this show does. Instead of having the lightsaber fight, it has fucking Stellan Skarsgård giving a monologue. That's what you're in for.
That's better. I like that more.
I know, guys. Like, what happened? Who let him get away with this?
So I do want to ask, because I think that the problem with Andor, because it is funny. It's a Disney Plus show. It's Star Wars. It's directed by Tony Gilroy, all that. And I feel like written by Tony Gilroy, excuse me. I feel like outside of all that, like the masses aren't really as into Andor. Like I just know this anecdotally. I was talking recently, I went home with my family and was talking with my sister and my brother-in-law, and they watch all the Disney slop. They watch it all. And they hadn't gotten around to Andor. They're like, yeah, that's on our watch list of things to watch. And I feel like I've heard that from a lot of people, that maybe it's because it feels kind of tertiary. It feels
it doesn't have all the
inconsequential.
It doesn't have Star Wars in it.
Well, what I'm getting at here is, do you think that the reason that made a lot of people roll their eyes to it, or made a lot of people just think it doesn't really matter, is because it's set in this phase in between prequels and original trilogy, which is kind of a detriment to it for views wise, but do you think that actually went on to enhance it it's overall? Because it feels like at the end of the day, we know Cassian Andor dies in Rogue One, so like who cares? It gives you more creative freedom at that point to tell more.
I think it is a show marketed at adults, and I think that's what it is.
Is Obi-Wan not?
I also
catch up on that.
Obi-Wan and Mandalorian are they're for families, they're for kids.
They for toys.
Yeah.
That's fair. I guess I think a large, a quietly large chunk of population also still thinks of these shows as like, am I going to be able to watch the next movie if I don't watch this?
The Marvelification of content.
Yeah,
fans will be excited for the setup for future installments. They will clap when they know the reference.
It's true. And and because this is good, it's not interested in providing that. So,
dude, Tony Gilroy,
it's a feature, not a bug.
He doesn't know who fucking anyone in Star Wars is. Like, ask him who Lando Calrissian is.
Ask him who Grogu is.
Yeah,
you think he's up on this Grogu
care.
knowledge?
He seems cool as hell. Like everything that's leaked out about his pitch to them is just like classic cool guy shit of him being like, listen, you're not gonna do this, but if you did,
here's my spy espionage film. Star Wars.
I know you shouldn't let me do this. It'd be crazy, but
it's 12 episodes. He packs so much shit in here. He packs in this twisted love story between an Imperial officer and like a do-good security, like low-level guy who's basically having the same hero's journey as Luke Skywalker, but within the Empire. Like he believes the same things that like any hero's journey would have, but he's just like a little shit that still lives with his mom and can't get a fucking promotion. That's one of the main characters of this show. He has a heist episode with one of the guys of the year, which we'll get to with the bear, Eben Moss Bachrocker.
Oh man, our guy
in a heist episode.
Cousin.
Yeah.
Does he say cousin?
He does not say corner, but he does say cousin.
Okay.
And fucking Andy Serkis in a prison break. The way the show is structured is like these mini arcs, like these 3-episode mini arcs. So it's like kind of broken up. You get the heist arc, then you get the prison break arc, and each one just feels so self-contained. And as you're watching it, you think you're hitting these peaks, and it keeps topping itself. It keeps fucking topping itself. And by the end, it feels like you got the story of the rebellion being formed. It's like, and the last episode is like the fucking Boston Massacre of the rebellion. It's like the first fist that is thrown. You know, you get that fucking moment, and God, it's so good. It's so good. I feel like Star Wars is not just dirty old slop anymore.
Well, do you think, I mean, that's what I was going to ask you, like in closing, is there momentum for more here, or is this just going to be a thing where it's like, where it's like, man, remember when they let Tony Gilroy just like go to town, and now we have like 4 more shows where it's like the Grogu sitcom
there is one show being worked on called The Acolyte. That I have hope that will continue this trend, but otherwise,
who's at the helm for the Acolyte? Because I feel like at the end of the day, it's going to come down to who's controlling.
So it's a woman named Leslie Headland who worked on projects such as Russian Doll.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of like her biggest thing.
Good show.
Yeah,
I could, there's something there. I am curious where Star Wars goes from here. If they do like the critical route of like, hey, a lot of critics are buzzing us and we're appearing on year-end lists. Do they like that? Or at the end of the day, are they all about numbers and they say, hey, Obi-Wan got a lot more views than Andor. God, so maybe we should go more with the fucking member berries shit.
We'll see. I honestly don't have much hope.
The biggest twist would be Kathleen Kennedy taking over the reins and Star Wars becoming the interesting franchise as Marvel fizzles out into fucking nothing.
Yeah, that would be
a real plot twist.
Andor's my number 6. Drew, number 6.
Da Boys.
Yo! Nice.
It's my number 12. So
okay.
Nice.
I have this very low. not very low, but you know, I watched a lot of TV. This didn't crack, but I liked it. It's a great show.
It is. It's one of my favorite shows. This isn't my favorite season of it. And that
it had some really good standout moments. The memes were crackling.
On top of all that, I think that it's I don't know. It's funny for a show so showy and like, you know, outwardly visibly impressive. It's really easy to take that part of it for granted. But the amount of, like we were just talking about, We Own the City, and they're very different shows, but the amount of plot that this show is able to cover and make it feel fucking breezy is one of the writing triumphs of any show currently on TV to me, because I think the season starts with like a previously on that covers the
well it's like a year after season 2.
So it covers the first 2 seasons entirely, and you're like, oh my god, they did so much. They have given life and death to like characters that I wouldn't say you emotionally connect with, but like you connect with them as entities. Like my favorite character on the show is still Elizabeth Shue, and I'm sad that she died in season 1. But it's I don't know. It's very impressive how infrequently it is bad, because I think it should be. It's not fair how much of this shtick it is taking up.
Yeah,
like realistically, the amount of like jokes and plot lines and angles of like dark heroism that they cover, this should be material for like multiple franchises of movies,
and not just heroism, but like the entire like industrial hero complex.
Yeah, so you have it from the media angle all the time. Like they cover that side of it and how they're exploited by like a megacorp. Then you get the militaristic angle of like, how they're like representative of the military in a lot of ways. And just what it would look like to incorporate like
the alt-right shit with the stepdad.
Oh my God. There's a lot of like modern socio-political stuff that they throw in there. With levity, of course, like they're doing a lot of it for jokes. But then, I don't know. It's just it's covering so much ground that it's like not leaving any for everyone else. Almost like it's covering everything.
Yeah,
season to season, and I think that's just insanely impressive.
No, I was gonna say that I do think that if there was one knock that I have against this season, is that it feels. I'm trying to figure out a better way to say this, because this is going to sound very critical, and I don't necessarily mean it this way, but this is the most online that The Boys has ever been this season, where it feels like they are trying
there's a Snyder cut. There is a Snyder cut joke, but it's so good.
It's so much of it is ripped straight from the headlines. You mentioned the alt-right stuff, and the way that lands, I think that actually does end up in a good place, even if I think that the Trumpism is a little bit forced to get there. But the Snyder Cut jokes, there's a lot of like trying to bring in like these modern Twitter headlines and force them, I guess, but like incorporate those into the plot threads of The Boys. And I think it's some necessary. Work a lot better than others. I also think that this is the most superhero of all of the seasons. Like this is the season where it's starting to feel more like a comic line. Yeah. It's starting to feel more like.
Well, and maybe part of it is the Soldier Boy character.
Well, yeah, there's that. I think that part of it is that season 3, we now know each of these characters. We don't have to play the games of like establishing these new characters. So it's like, oh, we can bring this new guy into our plot line and let's interject him for this arc that we're going to have here. And it feels more comic booky. I don't necessarily mean that as a detriment, because, some comic book shit rocks. And this is still better than any fucking thing that Marvel is putting out. Like it's in my top 12 for a reason, because I still think this show, like the highs are so fucking high. I just think that this season had a little bit more filler than season 2 in particular, which is my favorite season so far.
I think one of a very simple issue that the show has run into, especially by the end of this season, is the fact that the show can't go on much longer with Homelander being as powerful and villainous as he is, but you can't get rid of the best character on the show.
He is,
even though it's naturally it is time for him to die and go away for the show's purpose. But I can't watch the show without Anthony Starr.
We need Anthony Starr, man.
It's one of the best performances on TV. One of my favorite hero performances ever.
He's so weird.
He's just like just like a deeply weird, like Freudian caricature. So I don't know how they can beat that, because
especially because the conflict is the same conflict every time.
Exactly. And he is, they're evolving in different ways, but I rolled my eyes at the season finale because of the way that it resets in a way that just like sets up new season. When like that season finale, you're like, this realistically, this is the episode where like it ends. Either Homelander kills Earth or Earth kills Homelander. Right. It has to happen. But then he leaves with his son. The son is going to be a huge part of season 4. Yeah, and that's fun enough. Like the son, that little actor got better as time went on.
He's fine.
Yeah, whatever.
He'll do fine.
Jensen Ackles, I enjoyed.
The voice.
Yeah.
What was he doing with his voice?
He strikes me as a guy that like initially read to play Homelander.
Yeah, I literally thought the same exact thing whenever we talked about The Boys however many months ago. I was just like, man, this guy seems like he's just one of those guys who's around in Hollywood who's just taking all of these parts that constantly getting passed on, and Homelander's one of them.
Well, I like that. Let's I like that around. Character because like every character on this show is like an analog to a Marvel or a DC character, and that's
He's
like
Cap.
that's like the Captain America. But you know, the whole conceit of that character is like if Captain America actually like got frozen and came back, he would be like
he'd be awful.
Yeah, he would have 1940s politics brain. That sounds terrible.
Yeah,
and that's such a genius like little thing to just throw in.
Yeah,
it's not even the most important thing. It's just like this is just who this guy is.
And that the fact that his sidekick, like his Robin, it just becomes like a sad gun guy. The gun convention is phenomenal.
Oh, the gun convention's so good. That's a real highlight to the season.
I totally forgot about that. That's so good.
Yeah. Like I'm saying, it explores so many ideas pretty effectively that I can forgive the fact that it is pretty Reddit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, well, I mean, Jack Quaid just in general as a character. Fucking love Jack Quaid.
Dude,
Jack
he
Quaid's
was a little
great
shit
in this show,
season.
But yeah.
Like you have fucking Starlight as your person and you are fucking it up at every opportunity.
That's what I mean is that this feels like a show that's trying to go on for 10 seasons. Where like a lot of shows,
well,
I feel
apparently
like we're getting
people who have
to
read the comics would say otherwise.
Oh.
That like with the way everything that happened this season is setting up the end game. That's at least that's what Dane said and Harry, who have read the books, say.
Well, I do wonder because so much, and maybe that's just the way that the story is written, but it feels like old school television in a way where it's like, let's really milk these plot threads here.
Yeah.
And maybe that is just how the comic line goes. Maybe
keep the wheels spinning a little bit.
It goes until it doesn't. Maybe the show's trying to go past the comics. I don't know. Like I don't know what exactly is going to happen here, but
hey, I'll watch it.
Amazon is printing money for it. Yeah. Like they're spending whatever they have to. Logistically, it's going to get harder and harder to corral this cast as they become more famous people, you know, and you're going to have to pay them more, and like shoots are going to get tighter. It's going to be, you know, shorter days. So we'll see. There's just natural attrition with shows like this that sort of break a lot of people. But I'm really happy with like where it's been at. I sort of was expecting to be very disappointed by season 3 and I wasn't. So
The Boys is Drew's number 6, and that wraps up our 10 through 6.
Mm-hmm.
If I decided to split this into 2 episodes, then this is the end of part 1. Thank you for listening. Please tune in to part 2 for our 5 through 1.
Possibly bye.